Outlander, Blood of My Blood. How does it compare to the original series and the novels? Let's dive in and decide. Since the prequel series includes younger versions of established Outlander characters, let's dive into how they've changed between the two series. Colum Mackenzie is the first Mackenzie I'll talk about. In the prequel series, he is played by Seamus MacLean Ross and by Gary Lewis in the main series. Blood of My Blood introduces us to earlier events in Colum's life and how he became physically disabled. Claire concludes that Colum suffers from a rare genetic disorder called Toulouse-Lautrec syndrome, which causes his bones to be fragile, easily fractured, and to heal improperly. In Outlander, Blood of My Blood, it's actually revealed that Colum's distinctive limp began with an injury unintentionally caused by Dougal's reckless behavior. This chain of events ultimately leads Red Jacob to question whether either brother is truly fit to lead as Laird. In the books, as an adult, Colum is Laird responsible for land, justice, and clan politics. While his physical weakness does limit his direct participation in warfare, he leverages his mind, diplomacy, and alliances, which we see come from his youth. Dougal Mackenzie is next. In the prequel series, he is played by Sam Retford, and in Outlander, he is played by Graham McTavish. Dougal is the muscle to Colum's mind. In Blood of My Blood, he's wild, charismatic, and dangerously confident. He thrives on action, not contemplation. But that confidence leads to consequences, quite frequently. During a crucial moment, a clan raid goes sideways, Colum is severely injured, and it's all Dougal's fault. From that moment on, Dougal becomes both the clan's war chief and its guilty conscience. He spends years trying to prove himself worthy, not just to the clan, but to himself. In the main series, that same fire burns even hotter. Dougal becomes a fierce Jacobite driven by a romantic view of Scottish independence, but blind to its costs. He's passionate but volatile, loyal but reckless. And as these stakes rise, war, betrayal, rebellion, his inability to balance heart and head becomes his undoing. He never stops fighting, but sometimes he doesn't know who the real enemy is. We then have Murtagh Fitzgibbons Fraser, portrayed by Rory Alexander in the prequel, and Duncan LaCroix in the main series. In the prequel, we meet Murtagh before the gruff silence, before the years of battle. Here, he's idealistic, romantic, even a little awkward. He's deeply in love with Ellen Mackenzie, but his feelings aren't returned. Ellen loves another, Brian Fraser. That heartbreak defines him. Instead of bitterness, Murtagh turns his devotion elsewhere to Ellen's future son, Jamie Fraser, as his godfather. He swears an oath to protect the boy no matter what. That loyalty forged in love and pain becomes the cornerstone of his life. In the main series, Murtagh is the embodiment of quiet strength. He says little but watches everything. He kills when he must, protects without question, and he carries a lifetime of unspoken sacrifice. And even when rebellion rises, Murtagh never wavers in who he stands by. He's Jamie's shadow and Ellen's promise fulfilled. Another character that appears in both series is Ned Gowan, played by Connor McNeil in the prequel and Bill Patterson in the main series. Ned Gowan doesn't belong in the Highlands. Not at first, at least. Born in Edinburgh and raised with books, trained as a solicitor, Ned comes north chasing adventure. When he's robbed by Jacob Mackenzie's men, he doesn't run, he asks to stay. Early on, we see him play a quiet but critical role. He helps broker peace between brothers, structures the leadership system, Colum as Laird, Dougal as war chief, and he becomes the clan's local backbone. He's the voice of reason in a world really ruled by pride and blade, and in the main series, Ned is still that same man, older and a little less eccentric, but just as brave. He fights with legal loopholes, not swords, but when the moment calls for it, he'll stand in front of a mob with nothing but conviction. He's proof that courage doesn't always roar, sometimes it reads the fine print. Another character that appears in both is Simon Fraser, Lord Lovat, portrayed by Tony Curran in the prequel and by Clive Russell in season 2 of the main series. Interestingly, the character is actually based on an actual historical figure with the same name. In the series, he is Brian Fraser's father, which makes him Jamie Fraser's grandfather. The real Lord Lovat fought alongside the Scots in 1746's Battle of Culloden, but was captured the next year and beheaded by British forces. In the prequel series, Fraser is seen as embittered, holding grudges against the Mackenzie clan, especially Red Jacob, whom he blames for stripping him of his title and lands. He is quite harsh and authoritative, barking orders, being cruel with those below him socially. He's also especially abusive towards those he feels have wronged him. For example, the way he treats his bastard son, Brian. In the main series, Fraser is called the Old Fox, thanks to his cunning, deceptive, and politically shrewd behavior. He is widely regarded by his grandson, Jamie, and others as being ruthless, selfless, and untrustworthy, so not much has changed for Lord Lovat between the two series. Now, let's talk about what works in the prequel and what doesn't necessarily land. One of the things that works for the prequel is that it strengthens the Outlander universe by introducing a dual romance narrative that serves as a foundational origin story for both Jamie Fraser and Claire Randall's families. The prequel explores two distinct love stories, the forbidden romance of Jamie's parents, Brian and Ellen, and the union of Claire's parents, Henry and Julia. This allows a wider range of romantic tropes and characters to explore outside of the books and the established story. And because of this, the series provides essentially an origin story for the families that lead to the fated meeting of Jamie and Claire in the original series. Talk about expanding the world and connecting back to the main series. Another strength of the prequel is that it focuses the show on a different historical period than the predecessor, expanding the world and realism of the franchise. The prequel offers rich historical detail of the 18th and 19th centuries, portraying both the rugged highlands of Scotland and the verge of the Jacobite Rebellion and the complex social landscape of post-World War I London. And because of this, the series provides a unique perspective on the historical challenges faced by women within patriarchal societies across different centuries, especially in the narratives of Ellen and Julia. However, as much as the prequel has strengths, it does have a few weaknesses too. One thing that doesn't necessarily work for me is the show's uneven pacing and jagged storylines compared to the main series. Each season of Outlander is based on one of the books, with some later seasons adapting material from multiple. Because of this, and the network giving the writers a specific episode count, they were able to really perfectly balance plotline and pacing and the overall narrative with great precision. Since the prequel is based, on no source material, the writers had to get crafty with how many plot lines to include and their transitions between the two time periods. This is also a frequent reliance on flashbacks early on in the series that occasionally slows the story's pacing in ways that make you eager to get back to what's going on in the present day. Which brings me to another aspect that doesn't necessarily work. The show's overall tone and almost hallmarky content. Some of the scripts are a bit too simplistic compared to the original series' scripts, and many fans say they're cheesy, like a Hallmark movie, which isn't bad, but the prequel also feels different tonally than the main series, which is also fine, because it should stand on its own, but it should also be connected to the gritty and complex nature of the original series. So which one is better? The original series based on the books, or the prequel series started from scratch? Look, I have to say, Starz did a pretty good job of adapting Diane's books for the screen, and I just don't think you can beat the original. But what do you think? Is the prequel better than the main, or do you still prefer the original? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. And as always, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And I'll see you next time right here on Collider.